A late patch to this marriage. My wife and I have been together for the past 12 years and been married for the past 4.5. We have 2 daughters, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. 2 weeks ago she informed me that she no longer loves me and has been going through the motions for the past 2 years. Upon further discussion she told me that she wasn't sure she ever loved me, at least not in that romantic way. She said she never realized it before, but almost everything she has done in her life she has done because she thought it was what she was supposed to do. Marriage, kids, the big house. It's not what she wants now, and deep inside she thinks she never wanted it. She told me she relished her time alone and that she never misses me when I was not there. She did say that she does love our kids and would never give them up, but she feels she only had them because that's just what people do. She said she hated her life and what she wanted was simple, to be alone. She said the only thing that would make her happy was to work. She loves her job, and at the end of the day to go home alone to her own small apartment. That's all she wanted, to be alone. She does want to spend time with our kids, but she realizes now that was not what she was meant to do. She is a very loving mother, and this is not a ploy to get away and leave them with me. Her life is not what she wanted it to be, and she believes being alone, working her job, and having no one to answer to is what she needs to be happy. When I heard all this, I was devastated. I believe we have the marriage that others look up to. From the outside looking in, we have a perfect life. We both love our jobs and make a very good living. We have 2 great children and in public are very affectionate towards one another. At first, I thought what she was telling me was all out of the blue, but on reflection I did see the signs that were always there. I have my good points and bad points just like anyone else. The good: I am a moral person, very honest and trustworthy. I am a good friend. I am always willing to help out a friend. I am a very attentive father. I take days off and pull the kids out of daycare to spend time with them. I make the vast majority of meals in the household, and I change the diapers and put both the kids the majority of the time. I have been very supportive to my wife in one aspect in particular. She was ex many years before we met and she had many issues. I encouraged her to seek professional help, which she did, and after many years of ups and downs I stuck by her, and today she is much, much better. She is still a little scarred, but all in all a much more secure and stable person than when we first met. The bad: I am stubborn. Although I do make the majority of the meals and am very hands-on with the kids, the things that are important to my wife, like cleaning the house, doing the laundry, etc., I am not so good at. Due to the nature of my work, my schedule does change from time to time. I do not always update my wife immediately with my schedule changes, which affects not only her but her parents that often help out by watching the kids. My wife's work is important to her. She likes to talk about it. I often tune her out. As she puts it, with her as well as all my friends I only care about what interests me, namely the arts. My profession: the ugly. I love bonding. My wife, not so much. It could be due to the ex in her past or could simply be a lower drive, but I want it far more often than her. She has come a long way and opened up quite a bit physically, but I still push her. I mentioned that we are an affectionate couple in public, but I can be a little too affectionate. Okay, I sometimes grope. As well, I am constantly making references to bonding. It's way too much and sometimes a bit inappropriate. As my wife has pointed out, I always want it to lead to bonding. It's never just a little kiss with me. It's never just a back massage. I always want it to lead to bonding. I never have and never would force myself on her, but I do push her limits. When she is into it, the bonding is really good. When she isn't into it and I push while she isn't into it, and it's not good. I need to remind myself that for whatever reason that she doesn't want it as much as myself, especially considering the ex in her past, I need to respect that she cannot be physical as often as I want her to be. There is hope. Even though she said that she isn't happy and hasn't been for a long time. Even though she says she no longer loves me and isn't sure if she ever has. Even though the only way she feels she can ever be happy is by being alone with no one else in her life. Despite all this, she is willing to try and make it work, for the sake of the kids more than anything else. We mutually agreed to seek counseling and have our first appointment a week from now. When I say willing to work on it, she has said for as long as 5 years. This does give me hope, and in the past 2 weeks I have reflected on my past mistakes and what we need to do to get through this. I want to change for 2 reasons: to keep my wife in my life and have her fall back in love with me, and because I want to be a better person. Here are a few of the changes I have made in the past 2 weeks. I ask her how her day went. Ask about her job. I listen and care about what she is saying. I am still affectionate with her, but it is now a quick squeeze of the hand, a peck on the cheek, that sort of thing. I do not grope her in private or public. I do not talk about her body parts and how much I adore them, a bad habit of mine, and I am extremely conscious not to make her feel like a physical object. I give her space, or as much as I can. At first, I was too attentive, something that I know will only make matters worse, but I just couldn't help myself. I would stroke or grab her hand, many kisses on the cheek, any excuse to hold or touch her. It was only annoying her, and I could see that. I have since dialed that back and resist the urge to overcrowd her. I still continue with the small gestures of affection, enough to remind her that I love her, but hopefully not so much as to make her feel smothered. This is one of the hardest things to do, as my instinct is to hold her as tight as possible every moment I can. I have made a great effort to do all those small things that are important to my wife. I have kept her apprised of any schedule changes. I make a solid effort to clean the house. I think about everything I do and how it affects her. All in all, I feel great about the changes I have made so immediately in my life. I feel miserable about the situation and the fact that my wife may not be in my life forever, but am hopeful in the knowledge that she is willing to work on it, up to 5 years. I know that I can make and maintain the changes that will make me a better person and show her how important she is to me. I don't know if it is enough to make her fall in love with me again or if she is truly meant to be alone. Whatever happens, I will come out of this a better person. Update: things seem stable. There have been a few flare-ups of I hate my life from my wife, but I give her as much space as I can, and our time together for the most part seems not too bad. It may be somewhat muted, but it feels like we are rebuilding. I do my best to suppress the urge to talk and analyze the situation with her over and over again, but to show her by my actions. I have made many small changes and am sticking with it. I do see her trying as well. Small gestures, but enough to see that she is making an effort. We had a date last night. A movie followed by dinner. At the movie, I resisted every urge to hold her hand. I reminded myself that she needs her space. At the beginning of the movie, her body language told me that she did not want to touch her as she was tense and her body was turned in her seat away from me. It was hard, but I did not reach out to her. About a half hour into the movie, her body relaxed and she turned ever so slightly towards me. Another 15 minutes passed and she grabbed my hand. I looked over with a huge grin. She smiled back, shrugged her shoulders, and said that she was cold. I don't have to tell you how good that made me feel. At dinner after the movie, things were nice. Tentative, but nice. She talked about her work. I listened. It felt a bit like it did when we were first dating. It started to feel really good. In my mind, I was thinking that things were on their way back to being normal. I will admit I got more than a little too self-confident. I started thinking she was already becoming attracted to me again. I even thought she might want to sleep together tonight. Actually, I was pretty darn certain she would want bonding. This is more or less the scenario running through my head. We'll get home, we'll go to bed, things will get a little cozy, she will want to start kissing. And that will lead to her to want more being bonding. That is where the new and improved, emotionally connected husband kicks in. Well, that's not exactly the way things panned out. We got home. I got in bed and waited. Eventually my wife climbed into bed beside me, and that's when things didn't go exactly as planned. She wasn't frantic to hold me, to kiss me. In fact, her body was turned the other way. I pulled up close behind her. I put my arms around her and touched her ever so lightly. Nothing physical, just enough to remind her that I was there and to awaken the desire that surely must be simmering in her. Still nothing. She wasn't stiffening or pushing me away. She wasn't doing anything. I knew she didn't want to go straight to sleep. I mean, she held my hand at the movie theater. Clearly, she was nervous and unsure if it was okay to be affectionate. I decided that a kiss on the cheek was all that was needed to show her. Then she would be over me, and that's when I would put on the brakes and tell her how important it was that we wait. Then she would surely see how much I had changed. How much I was willing to work on this. How I no longer saw her as a physical object. So just a quick peck on the cheek. Wrong thing to do. What are you doing? I'm trying to sleep, she yelped. I did my best to assure her that I kissed her because I thought she wanted me to. I insisted I did not expect or want it to lead to anything more than that. My first instinct was to turn my back to her, to leave the room, maybe even sleep on the couch. I stopped myself from overreacting and simply said, "I'm sorry." I asked her if I could put my arms around her. At first, she said no, but a few minutes later she said she would snuggle, and we fell asleep in each other's arms. Things still feel pretty good. It has only been 2 weeks, but it feels like we are on the mend, or at the very least on the road to discovering what path we need to take. I pushed her too quickly. I know that, and I know that I need to let her come to me when she is ready. The small affectionate gestures are enough to remind her of how I feel. She knows I still love her and she will be intimate when she is ready. I do not want to hear she's cheating on you, man. She is not. Her entire schedule is accounted for, and there are no changes to raise any suspicion. There are no attempts at hiding her emails, text, call history on her cell phone. And simply put, she wouldn't cheat. Neither of us would. And no woman that was having an affair on her husband would be willing to stick around and try and make it work for up to 5 years. There you have it. My story, albeit a bit long-winded, but it has felt great to put it down to words. I'm not perfect. She's not perfect. I am working on it. She is working on it. Will we stay together? I do not know, but I am definitely what you would describe as an optimist, and I have very high hopes. She says she has been pretending to be happy for several years. I would say she comes across more angry than depressed. I feel very strongly about trusting her and not entertaining the notion of an affair. Our relationship has always been a relationship built on trust. I trust her completely, and I know she trusts me completely. Entropy, for the sake of argument, if, and this is a big if she is having an affair, emotional or physical, it isn't in fact something I can take action on. Other than calling it quits, I could not make her stop. It would be entirely her decision. I see an improvement. I see her working at it, and I see myself sticking with it. She said that would work on our marriage for the sake of our kids, but she also said that she wasn't ready to give up on our marriage. She values what it stands for, just like me. 5 years. She said she wanted to try and make our marriage work and that she wouldn't give up easily. She said she was prepared to work on it for up to 5 years. That shows commitment. At the risk of sounding stoic, I do not want to change my beliefs to discover what I already know, that she isn't having an affair. At the end of this journey, I want to feel good about myself. I have read many posts on this forum and other forums as well, and I do see the parallels between my situation and others. I recognize the pattern. Woman tells man what bothers her. Man ignores woman. Woman starts nagging. Man continues to ignore. And yes, then the woman checks out of the relationship. I think there is time to salvage our marriage. I was told in time. Barely in time, but in time. My wife has not done anything rash. Her manservant. Yes, there is a danger. I have caught myself several times heading in that direction. This will be one of the toughest things to avoid, but both my wife and I have always been independent. It's hardest right now while the wound is fresh, but I'm pretty certain I can regain my independence and not succumb to becoming her manservant. I would love to hear from anyone out there that has been in this situation with a positive ending, meaning they saved their marriage, that neither spouse cheated, and that they are as in love with each other as they ever were. Okay, I snooped. She was having an affair. Physical a few months ago, twice to be precise, and now emotional. With her boss. I am aware how textbook this is. My first instinct was to not mention it as I am so embarrassed, but if I cannot be honest with several strangers in cyberspace, then I am in big trouble. My wife and I talked for several hours. She found with him the love and attention I wasn't giving her. She confronted me about my wandering eye. I acknowledged. I also admitted to watching porn. We spoke calmly. I told her I wanted to work things out. She admitted that she loved her boss, God how that killed me, but agreed that our relationship was more important. She told me she would end the emotional affair. As I said, it was physical twice several months ago. She admitted she couldn't stop how she feels about him, but will tell him he was no longer to speak to her in anything but a professional manner at work and not to seek any intimacy. This is hard. I asked her if she was willing to work on our marriage for as much as 5 years as she said before. She said even longer than that. It is very difficult to put this down in words, but it is the therapy I need. We start MC in 6 days. We have been talking a lot. Maybe too much. I have been working on giving her space, but I'm still fighting the urge to be too accommodating. Too nice, just too much. That old hold on tight and don't let go thing. We started MC yesterday, and ironically enough, our biggest blow up since this whole thing began was just before our appointment. Despite that, it was a good session, our counselor taking the time mostly just getting to know us and our situation. Today I had a one-on-one session with our counselor, and next week my wife has a one-on-one with her as well. Things are stable. No great strides forward and no big leaps back. It will take time, but as I said, we are communicating. Yesterday my wife said that she is afraid that she may just give in, meaning go back to pretending being happy just to keep the family together. I told her that is not what I want. I want us to be together and happy. I couldn't live with myself if I made her stay and be unhappy for the rest of her life. She is not in love with me right now. She lost that love somewhere along the way. I'm willing to work on getting it back, and we are both willing to work on this for a long time. In a nutshell, 6 weeks ago, my wife told me she no longer loved me in that way. That she loved me but no longer loved me. She wanted to be alone. Many of the issues that had bothered her for years, not caring about the things that were important to her, work, not contributing to the household chores, my inability to think deeply about important things, all those issues that she stopped talking about that were still there, she just got tired of nagging. These were the things that contributed to her falling out of love with me. I freaked out, became the perfect husband as far as all the main issues were concerned, and also turned into one of those clingy husbands. I was always holding her, touching her, telling her I loved her 1,000 times a day. I was plain annoying. 2 weeks after that I discovered that she was in an affair. It was physical 4 months prior, and although it was no longer physical, it was currently an emotional affair. It was her boss at work, and she was also in love with him. I was upset but told her I still loved her and wanted us to work things out. I also still continued to be that clingy husband that both of us found so annoying. I asked her to do 2 things to show me that she truly intended to work on our marriage. First of all, to send a no-contact email to her boss ending the affair. She did, and in the email, it states that she had decided to work on our marriage, and although they work together, he is not to contact her in a personal manner in any way. If he does so, she will not respond. I did not ask her to quit her job, and I have not exposed the affair to her friends, family, or co-workers. The second thing I asked is that she give me the password to all her email accounts. I told her that even though I have every right to monitor all her actions, I would do the following. I would not check her email, her text messages, her call history, snoop through her purse, etc. I would not do any of that without telling her first. But if I ever decide to do that, I will only give her a moment's notice, meaning I may call her and say I am looking through the browser history on her laptop or checking her email at home at that very moment. I felt that this would be a good way for us to regain trust in one another. It has been 4 weeks since we came to this agreement, and I have felt no urge to look through her personal effects in that time. We also decided to go to counseling both privately and as a couple. My wife told me that despite the fact that she no longer loved me, she was willing to work on our marriage for 5 years, if not more. BTW, we also have 2 kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. I find it ironic that one of her main issues with me was that I never wanted to talk about important things. Now all I want to do is talk, but she does not. She had checked out of our relationship several years ago and is simply not ready to open up to me at this time. That has been tough for me. I have learned in my own way how to give my wife the space she needs. Whenever I get the urge to phone, text, or email her, I do this. I send an email address to her but send it to myself. I also have taken to writing a journal, which I also direct to her. Though she may never actually read it, I may send myself an email up to 20 times a day, but I'm not constantly coming up with a flimsy excuse to communicate with her in this time when she just needs time to think. As well, for the most part I am allowing her to instigate the affection. Not always, as I am still very much in love and still very much attracted to her, but I try to let her come to me when she is ready. We have not had bond since this all began, but we still sleep together in each other's arms, take baths together daily, kiss each other when we leave the house. We are still affectionate, but not in any physical way. We are also not what I would describe as passionate, just affectionate in a guarded way. When this began several weeks ago, my wife told me she hoped I would meet someone that I wanted to be with, as she hated to see me sad and she wasn't certain that she could be with me forever. Last night I asked her if she still wanted me to fall for someone else, and she said she didn't know what she wanted. I have also felt a slight shift in her feelings towards me in the past few days. Even though she told me she needed space, and even though I have tried my best to give her this space, despite this I can't help but feel that she is reaching out to me, albeit very subtly. We have several short vacations planned together this month, most of them suggested by her. I very rarely send her a text or email during the day, not because I don't want to, just because I am trying to back off, but she always seems to have at least one reason each day to contact me. Anyways, there is a slight shift, and it is very clear to me that she is making an effort. At one point she confided that she may cave in and give up, stay with me for the benefit of our family and to keep me happy. I hope that is not the reason, but I am not asking. I pushed her way too much the first few weeks and am waiting for her to talk when she is ready. What I hope is happening is that she is falling back in love me. I am definitely what you would describe as an optimist, and I may be reaching quite a bit here. I may also be reading into something that is simply not there. I do know that it is far too soon to tell, but I also know that I'm very focused in my efforts to be a better person, and I will do whatever I can to make this marriage work. I do realize that my wife continuing to work at the same job makes things very difficult, but I truly believe there is no other way. Less than a week ago she was given a major promotion with a substantial pay raise, which not only helps her but helps our family as well. Her job is extremely important to her, and if I were to ask her to quit, it would make her very unhappy. Yes, it is a big chance I am taking, but I am willing to trust her again. I won't say she couldn't pull the wool over my eyes, but I now know what to look for, namely in the way she acts towards me. I do not feel I am being played for the sake of the kids. I know the odds of surviving an affair are grim, but I am diligent. She ended it via email, telling him she was working on her marriage and that there was to be no further personal contact between the two of them. This weekend my wife and I took a holiday sans kids. While we were away, she spoke several times of our future, of some of the major renovations we were planning at home, of buying a new car, of vacation property we were planning on buying. She even spoke of the retirement home we always wanted several years from now. It was a good weekend. The affection was muted as it has been for the past few weeks. As we were driving home, she wanted to speak about a few things, or more accurately, I think she could tell that I wanted to speak about a few things, and she opened the floor for discussion. She did bring up the lack of intimacy. She told me that she did not want to instigate anything intimate until she felt that way about me. She told me that she thought about doing it just to make me happy, but I told her that I did not want that. I wanted her to be intimate with me when she felt it. She said that she did feel the odd twinge of something for me, especially when she sees me with our kids. She also told me that she didn't know what she wanted now and that she was trying to figure that part out. I see that as a positive change because as recently as 3 weeks ago she maintained that she wanted to be alone. She has very little daily interaction with the OM. A few days ago, when she did see him at work, she could tell he was uncomfortable around her. The next day an email was sent to the company saying he was taking a leave of absence, and there was no indication when he would be coming back to work. She knows about my concern with their interaction. Her new position allows her to work at home on occasion. She has been working at home 2 or 3 times a week lately. She has told me that she has been doing that for my benefit. So, yes, she has definitely minimized her contact, and now that he is on leave there is no contact. I should also mention that there are 2 office locations, and my wife tries to the best of her ability to work at one office while he is at the other. They will see each other, but she is minimizing it to the best of her ability. Employment does not know of the, and neither my wife or I know if his family knows, and as there is no personal contact there is no way of us knowing without asking him. Just a quick update, The private session with my counselor on Wednesday went very well. It was so nice to talk so openly with someone face to face. Not to say I'm not appreciating everyone's advice here on TAM, it gave me some clarity on the direction I need to go and helped me to focus on what I need to do. I will provide more details later. Things are still stable with my wife, although there was a bit of a setback a few nights ago. We got into a big fight over nothing really. We all know that can sometimes happen. It was a pretty big fight and I was quite upset about the whole thing. I decided to exercise my right to look through her laptop. I mentioned earlier in this thread that the agreement my wife and I came to is that she told me all her passwords and I would not look at, snoop through anything of hers without telling her, though it would be at a moment's notice. So, at 2 a.m. in the morning, I woke her up while she was sleeping and told her I would be looking through her laptop. I did include looking through her browser history and there was nothing alarming. I actually thought I would never do that, but I was in a bad space that evening. Well, it was a bit of a setback, but the next morning all was back to normal, or as normal as things are these days. My wife said we should just forget that anything ever happened the night before. Anyways, we are going on a family vacation tomorrow, my wife and I and our 2 small children, and I will be away with no internet access for almost a week. I will speak with y'all when I get back. A month later, well, the day has arrived. I discovered that my wife and her boss have continued the affair, emotionally as well as physically. She has moved out to her parents and I am staying in the house. It's over. 2 months later. Then 5 weeks ago my wife asked if we could talk. She realized that this was not the person she thought he was. She told me that by leaving me she realized what she had in me. She had left the and wanted to try and work things out with me if I would give her another chance. We talked for a long time and I couldn't deny that I still wanted to be with her. I agreed to try again. My wife went to the owner of the company she works for and requested he separate her and her boss. She has been given a new position at a different city from her former boss so that they have no contact with each other. The affair was the result of other problems in our marriage and those are what need to be fixed in order to make us work. There are a few things I discovered about my wife, almost all of them stemming from poor self-image. Despite the fact that she is a beautiful and petite person, she feels and has always felt that she is fat and ugly. Some of the things I learned was that in the 12 years we have been together she has always gone to bed wearing makeup. That is because she is afraid for me to see her without it. She has also been making herself throw up for years in order to maintain her weight, even when she was pregnant with our 2 children. I am always telling her how beautiful she is, but she just can't believe it. It is frustrating trying to convince someone of something that their brain just refuses to accept. My wife realizes that in order to fix our marriage she needs to start feeling good about herself. She needs to think that she is beautiful and not worry about what I think about her. She needs to be comfortable in her own body, which she never has. For that reason, she has decided to move into her own apartment and work on fixing herself. We are dating now and pretty much see each other every day. I have keys to her apartment and sometimes stay over with the kids, and sometimes she stays over at our house as well. My biggest fear is that she isn't getting that alone time she needs, so I am attempting to give it to her. I was told time and time again on this forum that what I needed to do in order to win her back was let her go. I couldn't do that, and the moment she left of her own volition she quickly realized what she had in me and wanted me back. So that is where I am at now. I apologize that I did not post sooner, but I really wanted to make sure that things were in a stable condition before giving everyone an update. We are both seeing separate counselors. I have continued on with the counselor we were seeing together and she has a new counselor. As for what she is doing to improve her self-image, I believe a big part of it is spending time alone, learning to be happy with herself, not worrying about what I or others think about her. She is working all that out with her counselor. I think so much of it is how you think about things and your actions follow. I have always been a self-confident person and very comfortable in my own skin, so it is a little difficult for me to relate. He actually wanted to marry her. She broke it off and wanted to work on saving our family and marriage. In fact, he was hounding her with texts and phone calls begging for her to take him back. I called the owner of the company and asked him to tell the to lay off as it was bordering on harassment. It has since stopped. We are working on things. It's a long journey, but we talk all the time. Even though she has moved out to get some space, she is hardly at her place. So seldom, in fact, that I worry that she isn't get the alone time she needs to figure things out. Tonight is the first night in over a week she has spent the night at her place. A month later, things had been going well in my mind. We were talking more, being intimate again, and it was feeling good. I mentioned that I felt she wasn't taking that alone time she needed, as she was always at our house and never at her apartment, sometimes as long as 10 days or more without going to her apartment. Today she broke down in tears. She says she still isn't happy. She feels she is still doing things to make others happy at the expense of her happiness. She still feels that if she could turn back time, she would never have gotten married, had never have had kids, and would live alone in an apartment. She really hasn't had this alone time she needed to think things through. She left me and realized fairly soon that she missed me and the kids in our life, although she also really wanted to be alone. It is complicated, but I encouraged her to do what she needed to do, be alone. I know that she must be alone for a while without me emailing her to see how she is doing, texting her goodnight, etc. If she has this alone time and does decide that she really does want to be alone, then as sad as that makes me feel, then that is what has to happen. If she decides she wants me and our family, then great, but this must happen. I am sad and we will see each other, but I will step back and let her make her own decisions. We will also continue to see our counselor together. By comment, OP became plan B. As much as he wanted to deny, he became her ultimate plan B. She got a taste of the other side, and she liked the comfort of home. This one stings.